Why are your tiles falling off? Common mistakes during tile installation. Imagine this. You have just finished a renovation in your bathroom. Everything is shining and sparkling, every detail has been thought through to the smallest element, and then suddenly, after a few weeks, one of the tiles unexpectedly falls off, hitting the floor with a dull thud, leaving behind a void and a sense of disappointment. You are bewildered. How could this happen if you use the very best glue, trusted and experienced professional, and even overpaid for premium ceramics? In reality, the reason is not found in bad luck or cheap materials. It is hidden in dozens of almost invisible but fatal mistakes that are made during tile installation, which, like a time bomb, wait for their hour to destroy your perfect interior. In this article, we will not just tell you why tiles fall off, we will dive into the very essence of the process, reveal the secrets of professionals, show what mistakes look like to the naked eye, and explain how to avoid them so that your tiles serve not for years, but for decades. When it comes to laying tiles, most people think only about the appearance, color, size, texture, and compatibility with plumbing or furniture. But the true strength of a tile covering is determined not by what is visible on top, but by what is hidden underneath. It is right here in this invisible layer where all future problems are born. One of the most common and destructive mistakes is improper surface preparation. Many believe it is enough to simply clean the surface of dust and get to work. However, even microscopic dust, remains of old glue, greasy spots from hands, or traces of paint can become an impassable barrier between the tile and the adhesive. Imagine trying to stick a sticker to an oily surface. It will either not stick at all or fall off after a couple of hours. The same thing happens with tiles, only the consequences do not appear immediately but after some time, when the glue has already lost part of its adhesive properties. It is especially dangerous to ignore this problem on old walls where there were previously tiles or wallpaper. Often, workers simply skip the removal of the old coating, hoping that a new layer will hide everything. But this is an illusion. Every millimeter of an unreliable base is a step toward future failure. Another fatal mistake that seems harmless at first glance is the use of the wrong adhesive. Yes, today there are dozens of types of tile glues on the market for indoor work, for outdoor work, for heated floors, for swimming pools, for large format tiles, and so on. But many home handymen, or even some professionals, take the first mixture they find, guided only by the price or availability on the store shelf. This is a huge misconception. For example, regular cement adhesive is completely unsuitable for laying tiles on drywall without preliminary priming with a special compound. Drywall absorbs moisture, and if the glue dries too quickly, it will not have time to form a strong bond. Or take the situation with heated floors. Here, you need an elastic adhesive capable of withstanding constant temperature fluctuations. Regular glue in such conditions will crack, and the tile will begin to pull away. Moreover, even if you've chosen the correct type of glue, it must be mixed correctly. A solution that is too thick will not provide uniform contact, and one that is too thin will simply run down, leaving voids under the tile. And that is not all. Glue has a limited working life after mixing. If you continue to work with it after 2 or 3 hours, its properties have already significantly deteriorated, and the adhesion will be weak. However, even an ideally prepared base and the most expensive glue will not save the situation if the tiles are laid incorrectly. This is where the most treacherous part begins, mistakes that look like professional work but are actually a trap. One of them is incomplete glue application. Some workers, especially beginners, apply glue only to the edges of the tile, leaving the center empty to save material. This approach is called spot bonding, and it is strictly forbidden for most types of tile. Air pockets form under the tile, into which moisture eventually penetrates, especially in bathrooms or kitchens. This moisture causes corrosion, mold, destruction of the base, and as a result, peeling of the tile. The correct method is continuous application of glue using a notched trowel, and the size of the notches must correspond to the format of the tile. For small tiles, a trowel with 3 mm notches is suitable, while for large format tiles, 8 or even 10 mm are needed. Only in this way can you guarantee full contact between the tile and the base. But there is more. Even if the glue is applied correctly, the tile should not just be placed, but pressed with a certain force and shifted slightly to the sides to ensure maximum adhesion. This process is called beating in or rubbing in. Without it, the glue remains in the form of ridges, and the actual contact area may be less than 50%. Professionals use rubber mallets and spirit levels for this to control not only the strength, but also the evenness of the installation. But amateurs often just lay the tile and leave it alone, hoping it will stick by itself. This is an illusion. Glue is not a magnet, it requires active participation. In addition, it is important to observe technological pauses. After laying the tiles, you cannot immediately start grouting the joints. The glue must dry completely, otherwise moisture from the grout will disrupt the cement hydration process and the strength will decrease. On average, this takes from 24 to 48 hours depending on the conditions. Violating this time frame is another step toward future detachment. There is also a whole range of hidden factors that affect the durability of the tile coating, but which few people think about. For example, temperature and humidity conditions during installation. Many decide to do renovations in winter when it is cold and damp in the house, but glue requires certain conditions. The temperature in the room should be at least +5 degrees, and the humidity should be moderate. If you lay tiles in an unheated room, the glue simply will not gain strength. The same applies to conditions that are too hot. At high temperatures, the glue dries too quickly without having time to set. Another important point is the compatibility of materials. Not every tile is suitable for every base. For example, porcelain stoneware is a very dense and heavy material, and it cannot be laid on drywall without reinforcing the frame. Or natural stone, which requires a special glue with additives that prevent the appearance of salts on the surface. Ignoring these nuances leads to the fact that even an outwardly flawless installation eventually begins to live its own life. Tiles come off, crack, or lose their shine. Interestingly, even correct installation can be undermined by mistakes made at the design stage. For example, the absence of expansion joints. Many believe that tile is a monolithic covering that should be solid from wall to wall, but this is not the case. Any building settles, especially new houses. In addition, temperature fluctuations cause expansion and contraction of materials. Without compensation joints, the stress is transferred to the tile and it either cracks or peels off. This is especially relevant for large areas, floors in halls, foyers, or swimming pools. Professionals always provide such joints, filling them with elastic sealants that allow the structure to breathe. Refusing this step is a direct path to destruction. It is also worth mentioning the quality of the tiles themselves. Yes, today the market is full of offers, and it is easy to buy cheap tiles of questionable origin. But not every tile meets the declared characteristics. Some manufacturers save on raw materials, making the tile porous, brittle, or with uneven geometry. Such a tile holds poorly even under ideal installation conditions. Therefore, it is important to pay attention not only to the appearance, but also to the marking, water absorption, wear resistance class, and compliance with standards. For example, for a bathroom, a tile with water absorption of no more than 3% is suitable, and for a floor, a wear resistance class of at least 3 is needed. Ignoring these parameters is another reason why tiles can fall off. It is important to understand that laying tiles is not just a mechanical process, but an entire science, combining knowledge of materials, physics, chemistry, and even psychology. After all, mistakes are often made not because of ignorance, but because of haste, a desire to save time or money. People think, well, what difference does it make if I cut a corner a little bit? Or, it is just a bathroom, no one will see it there. But it is these little bits and no one will see it that become the cause of destruction. Tile is not wallpaper that can be replaced over a weekend. This is a long-term solution and it must be approached with respect. If you decide to do the renovation yourself, be sure to study the installation technology down to the smallest details. Watch educational videos from trusted sources, read the manufacturer's instructions, and consult with experienced masters. Do not be afraid to ask questions. It is better to spend an extra hour on clarification than a month on a redo later. And if you hire a specialist, do not take his 20 years of experience at face value. Ask to see examples of his work, read reviews, and clarify what materials he uses and why. A good master is always ready to explain his work and prove its quality. In conclusion, I want to say, tile is not just a decorative element, it is the protection of your home, your family, and your comfort. When it falls off, it is not just an aesthetic problem, it is a signal that somewhere the balance was disturbed, somewhere a mistake was made that could have been prevented. Do not let laziness, haste, or greed destroy what you created with love. Study, be interested, ask questions, and strive for quality. Because real renovation is not what looks beautiful today, but what remains strong and reliable tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and in 10 years. And remember, every tile you lay is not just a square centimeter of surface, it is a part of your story, your space, and your life. Treat it with respect, and it will respond to you with long, flawless service.